Hey y'all, it's Cassidy, and we're back with another video. Ay. So today you guys are talking about how to find your aesthetic. Now if you haven't already, check out my how to build your brand in 2020 video. One of the tips that I mentioned in that video is finding your look. So today we're going to really go deeper into finding your look and finding the aesthetic of your personal brand, your business, whatever you're creating. So let's dive in. All right, so the first step to finding the aesthetic for either your brand, your business, your product, whatever you're designing, is going to be finding inspiration. A lot of times Cass Productions as a brand has its own inspiration. Me as a personal brand, I have my own inspiration, and then the different content I create within those brands have their own inspiration. Some ways I find inspiration for the aesthetic of my brand that you guys can try as well is through music. So a lot of times I'll listen to a lot of different kind of music in different genres and a lot of like alternative music, and that music kind of honestly can inspire almost a look or a visual in my mind. So I know this may not work for everyone, but especially if you're into film, like have a very visual way of thinking, then sometimes music can create visuals in your head that are very original and unique. So that's a great way to kind of get inspired on what your aesthetic and your look is going to be. Second thing that I really like to do is go out and actually look at different locations and different environments. And maybe if I can't go out or I know there's nothing near me that's going to inspire me, then I'll go online or I'll look at different YouTube and travel vloggers and look at their experiences to get that actual inspiration from being there. Luckily right now there's so many content creators that give you the experience of feeling like you're almost there with them. So the last way that I really like to go out and seek inspiration and build the look of my aesthetic is through vision boards. So vision boards, you can either do it by getting magazines or different images that you really like and curating like a single board. Me personally, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is almost like a digital vision board where you can build as many digital boards as you like if you're unfamiliar with Pinterest, and that's like my favorite place to build vision boards. So Pinterest is great for building vision boards, and then if you wanted a physical version, you could even print the pictures that you find from Pinterest and then put them into an actual physical vision board that you can hang up. So vision boards, vision boards, different locations in your environment, as well as music are three big things that can really inspire your aesthetic, your look. So once you've gained that inspiration, it's time to actually get out and create the look of this brand. So when it comes to creating the look, the first thing that I like to decide on is going to be the color palette. So the color palette of your brand is the feels, the different colors that are gonna make up everything that your brand relates to. So your color palette is basically the colors that your brand is going to constantly use amongst all platforms. So if you did do a vision board based off of pictures and images, or you did something visual, then you can actually take the colors from that element. So if I go into Photoshop, I can actually select the colors, or if you use like Procreate or anything, you can select those colors and get the exact colors from the images that you take and kind of create your own color palette just based off the images that originally inspired your aesthetic. Other than that, you can kind of I suggested opening your closet and looking at the pieces that you really like on yourself and using the color of those clothing pieces as your aesthetic pieces. Once you have a color palette and you kind of have an idea of the visuals of your brand, then you can start looking into maybe a chosen filter or a chosen way that you're going to edit any content for your brand. So if I'm doing different videos and photos and I want them to be very cohesive amongst all platforms, then I'm gonna find a single way to color grade or a single way to manipulate the colors or the filters of anything that I create so that it seamlessly works together. Like I'm not gonna have my YouTube channel be black and white and dark and eerie, whereas my Instagram was maybe super bright and bubbly and stuff. You want your brand to be very cohesive amongst everything. So once you have those colors, you have your visuals down, then you can really nail down what kind of filter, what kind of look is going to lay over your content. So you guys have found your inspiration, you've gotten your color and your images looking right, cohesive and together. The next thing you guys are gonna want to do is decipher the typography and the logo for your brand. So typography, simplest way to put it is the font. So typography is the different fonts that your brand uses on whether you're doing a blog, you're doing YouTube thumbnails, a website, whatever font is going to be present and when that font is going to be present. So maybe you have a title font that's specific that you use. Maybe you use like a cursive font for your title, and for any subheadings you use a dot font or like a very formal letter font, and then you have like a paragraph font. But just kind of determine 3 main fonts that your brand is going to use whenever you're creating any content, and that looks very, very clean and professional for a client to see that you're constantly using the same color palette, constantly using the same font amongst all platforms. What you can do next is to think of a logo, create a logo. If you don't know how to create a logo, I released a video on how to design your own logo on your phone in Photoshop, check it out. But you guys can design your own logo or hire someone to create a logo that also fits within your vision, and then if you want, you can get that font from them as well, so you can use that font for other things whenever you are creating in the future. You guys have seeked inspiration for what your brand is going to look like. You guys have actually generated a color palette and images for your brand. You've chosen some typography and a font so that your brand has a cohesive look. And so the last thing I would say after that is to just surround yourself with this aesthetic, with the look of your brand. It's one thing to kind of have decided a look that you want to have, but it's another thing to live within that aesthetic, live within that look. Then you can really, it's more of a natural tone. Whenever you're looking for somewhere to film, it's not hard to find somewhere to film because that's already what you're surrounded with, and then people will be able to tell if you're doing a look that's not actually you. So definitely take the time, seek inspiration, and find a look that fits you very well, and then go about, you know, creating those visuals, creating the look of your brand, and then you'll be ready to generate content. Those are some tips for you guys if you're trying to find your aesthetic. Maybe you're going into rebranding, so you just need some tips on how to gauge a new aesthetic. I hope these help. See y'all on the flip side. Subscribe and like.